guys, it's Jennifer Norman. Welcome to day 24 of From My Closet. This is a project that I started to share some daily inspiration as well as a little bit of joy by giving something away from my closet with every episode. And I am also the founder of the Human Beauty Movement. This is a company that I started to focus on wellness and beauty from within, not necessarily just the beauty that you see on the outside. So today I actually wanted to talk about the fact that a number of us received an email yesterday with some heartbreaking news, and that was that the Burning Man event for this year was going to be canceled. Burning Man is an event that has been held since 1986, and this is the first year that they've actually had to cancel, and of course for very good reason. This event has grown to be over 75,000 people large. It's essentially a pop-up city for a week or so, and so it becomes pretty much the proverbial petri dish. So it's for the best reason why it's not happening this year, but it doesn't make it any easier for those of us who are really looking forward to going. So I wanted to actually talk about the principles of Burning Man. There's some of you out there that probably have no idea what I'm talking about, and so I'll explain. But essentially, there are 10 principles of Burning Man, which are like the 10 commandments, if you will, that really are the foundation of what makes Burning Man so special. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Burning Man, as I mentioned, it is this event that happens every year. It takes place in the most desolate of environments. It's Black Rock City, Nevada, where there's just miles and miles of desert and nothingness. So it becomes extremely dusty. It becomes extremely harsh. The weather gets very cold, frigid at night, and it gets extremely hot and scorching during the day. And essentially, people just bring everything with them in order to survive. There's nothing sold at Burning Man except for ice and coffee. You have to bring your own food, your own water, your own bathing goods, and then you rely on the community to a certain degree, but it really is all about self-reliance. It's about your ability to survive in these harsh conditions and essentially put yourself in this kind of environment to lose yourself as well as to find yourself, which is the beautiful thing about it. So I encourage a lot of you to read up on it a little bit more if you aren't familiar with it. But the one particular principle out of the 10 that I wanted to talk about today is that of radical inclusion. It's the first principle. The radical inclusion principle is that everybody is welcome, no matter what your sex, no matter what your race, no matter what your social status, no matter what your sexual orientation is. It doesn't matter. Everybody is welcome in this particular event and in this particular community, which is a really beautiful thing to already know that you feel like you belong and that you're included and that you are seen, which I think is one of the things that makes Burning Man so special. And so, gosh, wouldn't it be wonderful if the rest of society was as radically inclusive as a temporary event, which happens, once a year for 1 week? Wouldn't it be amazing if we could all feel so radically included in everything in life that we never had to worry about feeling lonely or discarded, for any particular reason. Growing up, I remember feeling, really left out for a number of reasons. Number one, because of the way that I looked. I remember being a young child and being teased so much. I grew up on Long Island, which was extremely as white bread as you can get. I was teased for looking how I looked, and it made me so sad. And when you're young, you don't really understand that. And certainly with my son being disabled, when he'd go out, and other kids would see him, they would be scared, they wouldn't know what to do. Parents would be embarrassed, they wouldn't know what to say to their children, and they'd just say, stop staring, stop staring. And so there's just something inherent in our environment which causes us to fear or to loathe that which is different. And so, hopefully those kinds of things will be changing. I think if Burning Man culture can start pervading more and more into what we call default culture, or the regular world, the outside world when we're not at Burning Man, then the world might be a real nicer place. It might actually be a bit kinder and more accepting. One of the other principles is actually radical self-expression, which is tied to radical inclusion, and that is the ability for you to just come as you are, or come as you want to be. However you view yourself or wish to showcase and show up at the event is completely fine, and it's wonderful, and people embrace it. I remember going to this one particular music event, and there was this man who held up this massive sign that said, "Finally normal people," which I thought was brilliant because there was a lack of normalcy there. It was definitely a whole crowd of misfits, and it was absolutely wonderful, and that's how life should be, because aren't we all misfits? Anyway, so I just thought that it would be nice to share a few words about thinking about how you might be able to propagate more radical inclusion in your surrounding, rather than judging people at face value, because as they say, you never really know what people are going through. And the person could really be going through some hard times, and if you automatically judge them at face value for what you see at that moment, you could be missing a whole lot of interesting stuff going on a whole lot deeper. And so with that, I just, I invite everybody to really cast aside judgment, show a little bit more openness, explore, contacts and connections that you otherwise would not necessarily have before with people who don't seemingly feel or seem at face value that they are like you, because that's how we grow. We learn from people who are very different from us, and who kind of bring a different culture and perspective to the table. So that was kind of short, but I just wanted to touch on that. I know that it's Holy Week and weekend, so I know that there's probably a lot of planning and a lot of exciting things going on this Saturday night for all of you. But to honor the spirit of Burning Man, I thought that I would tie it into tonight's giveaway, and that is that I crafted this really dope hat, which looks like this, and you can see that it actually has cute LED sparkling lights on it. So it looks like this. It's totally bedazzled. Isn't this fabulous? It's got like all these kinds of rhinestone-y looking things on it. It has these sequins which kind of do different colors and all that, and it's got like this silver band on it. So if any of you want this, because I'm not going to Burning Man this year, and hopefully they'll be next year, but if anybody wants this for yourself, you can feel free to raise your hand and give me your shipping address. I promise I will Lysol it so that it's completely clean and as sterile as possible when it gets to you. And I really appreciate you all tuning in tonight. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I will see you tomorrow on Easter. Bye.